Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. It's time for another edition of No Capes, where I talk about comic books that don't have to do with superheroes, and or Ethan doesn't read them or doesn't review them along with me. First up, gonna talk right about Baltimore. This is the Inquisitor. Another kind of a one-shot, kind of. It is a one-and-done story. It has to do with some reoccurring characters. You got Lord Baltimore, which is the title is named after. And all of these stories kind of all match up together to tell a longer story of Lord Baltimore attempting to hunt down some vampires who pretty much killed his family. The era, it's like 1917, right around World War I. This issue in particular has to do with this character. I'm drawing a blank on his name. He's an Inquisitor. Basically, the church has recreated the Inquisition in a way during these unholy times. And we get a good look at this guy who is going to become a reoccurring character in the whole Baltimore mythos. He probably is just as evil as the evil that he's attempting to destroy. Basically. Really good title. Really enjoyed it. I love the artwork. I love the feel of it. Most of these Baltimore books tend to be in tones of grays and blacks, generally, with just a dab of red here or there to make it really striking. I think this is like listed, if you look on the inside of it, it says number 17 in the series. Like I said, it's a series, but it's not a series. You can read these as one and done kind of things, or you can put them all together and tell a larger story. I don't own all of them. It's one of those things I kind of want to go back and hunt them down. Well, this is basically kind of set in the Hellboy universe, but well before Hellboy it existed, because Hellboy shows up right at the end of World War II, and this is set in World War I, but there were always monsters around. So, interesting stuff. I really enjoyed it. Love the art in it. Love the style of it. Masterfully colored by Dave Stewart. Another thing of the Hellboy universe, BPRD Hell on Earth. This is issue 108, and I can't remember exactly what they're calling this arc. But man, reading this book is just so awesome. It just does not miss. This issue in particular really, really felt like an apocalyptic story. Things have just gone so bad, and it goes so bad for this this group that's with Jonathan. They're trying to walk themselves to Chicago. There's this gas that keeps rolling out in this fog that basically... as a human, if you breathe it in, you get mutated and corrupted and turn into these monsters that are dogging them the whole way along. They encounter these creatures that are kind of like bat-faced mole rats that are like giant. They're like 4 or 5 times the size of a horse. Just some really, really crazy stuff in this book. Really, really enjoying it. It's very... This one had lots of action in it. It was very exciting. There's guys on horseback shooting guns as they're running away from giant monsters and stuff. All very exciting. Really liked the book. People have been asking me when I've been doing these reviews of this, hey, I might be interested in getting in on this. Where do I start at? Because of course they're intimidated with the issue 108. And I apologize for not getting back to everybody individually. It's really hard for me to say where you should jump on the book at, because I just kind of went, you know what, this just looks too cool. And I bought a few off the shelf towards the beginning of this Hell on Earth kind of storyline that they've been running right now, and just started reading. And just to kind of just taking in what was there and figuring out what's going on. When I started reading the book, Hellboy is actually dead. He's been gone for a while now, and pretty much everything's gone to hell. That's why it's the Hell on Earth storyline. That's where I started reading that. And then I guess I suggest for other people, that's a place you can start reading at. There's always a little bit of matter at the very front of the book on the inside cover to kind of explain what has happened to the main big people of the book. The Liz Sherman, who's the pyromancer, and Abe Sapien, what's happened to him, and what's happened to Hellboy, and then kind of the other people who are in charge, what they're up to and what they're doing. So that's my suggestion if you're really interested in the book, is just to start there if you're not wanting to go back and buy a whole bunch of trades, which I haven't done yet, but I'm probably going to bite the bullet at some point because I seem to be short on back issues. So I'm really thinking about just splurging and spending some money and getting some of the trades of the BPRD stuff. Not the Hellboy stuff, but the BPRD stuff. Just because I really, really like it, and it's really interesting. I swear to you, I have not read not a solid issue of this book. Every single issue is solid. Some are more awesome than others, don't get me wrong. But I never read this book and go, about it. And there's lots of other books that I read that feel mediocre to me, and I go, occasionally when I'm reading them in between good issues. This one's never the case. I enjoy every single issue of it. So, that's where I'm at with that. So I fully intend to, to keep getting that. And I guess, like I said, my suggestion would be if you don't want to go back and buy tons of issues, go back and start with the Hell on Earth stuff. And it's a little hard to shop for it because issue 100 is where they started numbering it. Each issue, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, and so on. There's probably a year's worth of Hell on Earth comics. If you can get a chance to get them in your hands, you can open them up on the inside. On the inside, they're numbered also. Even before issue 100, it may say BPRD Hell on Earth, Pickens County, for instance. And if you open it up, and it'll say 1 of 3 or 2 of 3, 3 of 3. But if you open it up on the inside cover, it'll actually have a number in there that will say, issue 97 or issue 99 or 98, whatever issue it is. And then at 100 is when they started labeling the thing as a regular thing. But they kind of run in these little story arcs, and they name each arc a something. This is the first one I've seen that hasn't had a further title on it besides the Hell on Earth thing that's been going on this year. And so that's how they number it. So it's a little bit confusing unless you know that. It took me a while to figure that part of it out, but still, really great book, I think. Lawrence Campbell's got some great art in there. Of course, once again, like most of these books, colored by Dave Stewart, who is just an awesome colorist that just adds a lot to the book. Okay, another Dark Horse comic. Fall of the House of Usher. This is issue 2. Edgar Allan Poe's, of course, translated by Richard Corbin, with art by Richard Corbin. Great book. I like the little things that he adds to it to tell this story in 2 issues. Kind of ties some stuff together. Great Richard Corbin artwork. Has that kind of heavy metal feel to it because, of course, I just think when I think heavy metal, Corbin's one of the people I think of. Maybe story-wise, it isn't 100% heavy metal because, of course, it is Edgar Allan Poe, and so it stays in the tradition of Poe. But still, really great if you like Edgar Allan Poe's work, or if you're a Richard Corbin fan. I don't see I can go wrong with this series. I definitely enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to if there are any more Richard Corbin stuff coming down the road. Okay, Image book, Mara, issue 5. If you didn't pick this book up because you thought it was a book about volleyball, you missed out. You really missed out. This book is just so not what I thought it was going to be to start out with. I knew there was going to be a person in it that was going to have superpowers and stuff, but this is just a really interesting take. This is basically, how I'm going to describe this kind of is if it's like an alternative Superman story. Now, Brian Wood, the writer, may get upset if you heard me describe it that way, but that's partially how it feels to me. Mara has gotten these superpowers, and they just keep growing exponentially, and she just is trying to figure out what else is going on. She's just changing. She's changing. Everybody wants a piece of her. The military wants a piece of her. Her all of her old sponsors up until this point are really mad and angry about her because she's, she was this volleyball cheater and all this stuff. She finally completely embraces her power and feels comfortable in her new skin, as it were, in this issue. And she's just suddenly flying around. She can be in space. She just, is just drifting all over the place. Suddenly her sponsors are starting to want to pick her back up again, or they're saying, oh, there's a clause that says that they didn't really ever cancel her contract because people are getting excited about her. She hasn't landed on planet Earth in days. She's been flying around. She's hanging out with the penguins in either the Antarctic, in the Antarctic, because there aren't penguins in the Arctic. In the Antarctic, she's hanging out with the penguins, kind of talking to them about how, how do you deal with the cold? And then she kind of laughs because the cold doesn't really bother her. The government has snatched up her brother. They are wondering if her brother's going to gain superpowers too. They mess him up. I won't give it all away. But at the end of this, she's done. She's done. She has decided, you know what? You people don't accept me, and you treat me so poorly, and all you wanted is to take from me and hurt me and put me down and grind me under your heel and make me what you want. You know what? I'm disowning you. I'm disowning the human race. I am no longer part of the human race, and I'm going to take appropriate action based on that by how you're treating me. And the end of this thing is a serious oh shit moment. I mean, it's crazy. I really like this book. I love Ming Doyle's artwork in it. It's just a cool kind of art style. Tony Balleri, excellent colorist on this. Just makes for a really interesting book. I believe the next issue is the final issue, so I have no idea how this whole thing is going to end. But really, really fascinating, I think, in kind of a, like I said, in kind of a different Superman kind of a story. What if Superman, instead of having this wholesome nurturing as he was growing up, kind of a thing that leads Superman to be how we all kind of envision Superman now, as this kind of, the big blue Boy Scout. But instead, what if he had just suddenly got his powers and didn't have all that nurturing and basically had all the kind of hostilities that come with if you suddenly have godlike powers, how people are afraid of you, how people want to use you, and all of that stuff, and what would the reaction be? And I think that kind of to some degree that this is how this is, or that's how it feels to me when I read this issue. And I thought it was really, really cool and a really exciting book. Like I said, I think next issue is the last issue. Really fascinated to see how the whole thing ends up ending out. Okay, Revival, issue 11. Great cover here of Martha strangling the crap out of somebody. In this, all kinds of crazy stuff happens as far as giving us answers to some really big things. But of course, creating more questions in the process. But I'm okay with that, because one of the questions and answers, it gives us some level of purpose to these kind of ghosty alien things that we have seen since issue 1. Some really crazy stuff happens with them in here, with a connection to the Revivalist that is really, really interesting, and adds a whole other layer of what the hell's going on and what does this mean. Really exciting stuff. Another great part here, Martha kicks some serious ass. I mean, she was going to get buried along with a body that the Revival harvesters that have been chopping off body parts, they're going to smack her in the head with the shovel and bury her in this hole. She gets out of there, and push comes to shove, she messes some guys up. And that was interesting, because up until this point, she's gotten in some fights with some people, and she's had these moments where your eyes get all kind of evil, and you wonder, ooh, is she going to be a potential killer like our first lady when we first started reading the book, who kind of went off the deep end and tried murdering a bunch of people and stuff. We wondered if she was going to be the same way, if this was kind of there was this evil underlying thing maybe about the Revivalist. No, in this, we see her regret. We see her going, I don't want to do this. We can stop this. You don't have to force me to, kill you or really hurt you. We can, we don't have to, and if people push her. So that was interesting, because I thought for a while that there was this underlying cold, evil malevolence to her potentially. And in this issue, we don't get that. We get something different instead. Really, really interesting issue. Still think it's a fabulous title. If you don't want to just hear me gush about it, check out LaRoche's channel. She's a huge fan of Revival also. And you can hear her talk about the book too. Get on board. this ends the second big arc. And so there'll be 2 trades out here very soon. The first trade's already out. You can get it. I think it's got excellent cover art on it. Great thing. And I would suspect in a month or 2, the second trade for this will be coming out. And I think it would be a great trade. Also, here's an advert for that trade with the great tagline, "Death is the new normal." So yeah. Get on board if you're not on board. I think it's a cool comic. Great artwork in it. Interesting story. Provocative. Lots of questions and interests and just lots of interesting stuff going on. And I think they're successful at giving us little answers to little things as we move along in the story. And also continue to give us more and more mysteries. So there's always more stuff to explore and question and whatnot. And I think that's great in a comic book. Okay, next up, this is Six Gun, Sons of a Gun. This is issue 4. This is a miniseries that spun off, of course, from the regular Six Gun title. This has to do with the owners of the Six Guns before our current storyline, where Drake Sinclair pretty much has the gun, most of the guns, and Becky has the other has the sixth gun. So we get to hear some stories. This one's about an ex-doctor who carries the gun that you can bring back the souls of any people the gun has killed, and they come back in a clay earthen form, like golems of sort, which I think is one of the really cool and really interesting guns. And we see his story, his struggle to try and save a town after he's split himself off from the rest of the Sons of Gun. And of course, by the end of this, they are back together. And there's one more issue. We'll get to see them all team up again and ride as basically these evil 4 horsemen, basically. And where it all leads to. We'll be curious. I've enjoyed this series. It's interesting. It's not nearly as riveting as the regular Six Gun title, I don't think. Partially because I think we know what happens to these guys. If you read the regular Six Gun title, you know what goes on with these guys ultimately. So, I don't. You know how it's going to end to a large degree based on that. But it's cool to get some of this back information, find out some other interesting stuff about some of these people, what their trials and tribulations were like with the guns before our main characters in the main book got it. So enjoying it. Looking forward to getting the last issue of that and see how it all ties it up before it leads into the regular plot line for the beginning of the regular Six Gun. And finally this time, issue 32 of Six Gun. Get this great cover of Becky walking along with a sword with the hilt that has the 6th symbol on it. Poor Becky is still on a ghost walk that has gone way awry. She has gone way off the beaten path. Things are way out of control. There's stuff in this book that I would have never sworn I would have never seen in a Western book. There are actual knights in armor and dragons and stuff like that. And then she meets a version of Drake in this veil that she's in. And by the end of it, the seal is broken on her ghost walk. And she is dumped into what seems to be even another reality. And in that reality, the horsemen I was just talking about in the last comic book are there. They're controlling a town, and General Humes seems to potentially still be alive. Really, really interesting. Lots of other stuff in there. I didn't really spoil a whole lot in there. I find this cover very interesting. I want to point something out about the covers. I love the Six Gun covers. The Six Gun covers are great because normally this logo is out in front on the cover. You get a story that's going on down here, and you get story across the top. And it all kind of tells you what's going on in the comic book. This one is the first issue out of all 32 issues where the foreground actually covers up part of the logo and there is no top story in it. I think that's really interesting. I remember seeing, they showed this cover when back in March when I was at Emerald City Comic Con, they showed this cover and I noted then too, this is an interesting, I mean, it's a complete break away from the way the rest of the covers go. All the other covers, you put them all together, they're completely uniform as far as the style goes. And this one breaks that style to some degree. So I think that's pretty interesting. And I think this is coming up on a pretty significant turn. I think this has been a giant roller coaster ride. I think we've already actually reached the summit, and I think we're starting to crash back down the other side of what happens when you're in control of these guns and some of the burdens and significant stuff that happens to you during that time. But still, excellent story. Love this book every time I read it. Happy that so many of you are on board. I hope you stay on board. If you're not liking the book, I would really love to know why. I mean, I won't hold it against you. I won't call you too many names. But if you dislike the book, let me know why, because I'm really curious. I'm really curious as to, what the appeal is. I mean, if you say, I don't like Westerns, yeah, cool, I get it. I mean, because there is a chunk of it that is Western. If you say, I don't like art that looks, I don't know, cartoony, some people would describe that. To me, I initially thought it was that, but not anymore. Not anymore. It's just great comic book art. Makes perfect sense. Looks great. It has ample amount of detail to tell us some really good storytelling. But anyway, if you've tried this book, you don't like it, I'm just curious. Let me know why. Let me know why. Like I said, I won't hold it against you. I won't make entire videos about how you have no taste or anything like that. But yeah. Anyway, that's it for my no capes this time around. I'll be back hopefully relatively soon with my Monster Comics reviews. And anyway, have a great one, everybody.